Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, on what has been an absolute scorcher of a weekend. Bit of sunshine always puts a smile on everybody's face, so I'm not expecting many people to be here tonight. I don't blame you. You should be out in the garden, sapping it up while you can. Hello, joining the dots, and Debbie, how are you doing? So I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but it's absolutely scorching. Nice to get some sun. How do you do, Slipknot? How's it going? Hope Paul is well. Hello, Paul. Well, he's gone and done it, hasn't he? The blonde bombshell is no more. My word, what are you all going to do now? I ask myself. Oh, so your Sunak's in the race. Interesting. But Truss is also in the race, I think. I think she's put herself up. If she hasn't, she will. Just looking at, I don't like this Truss. She's got something about her that just makes me ooh. But to be honest, most of them are the same. But yeah, chemtrails have been out for the last couple of hours here. So what they're doing there, I don't know. But yeah, I've seen them. Grid patterns up here as well. Although it's been clear for the daytime just here today. Yeah. So yeah, they're up to no good again. Well, Liz Truss, just looking into her quite a bit. I will put the video under, a link under this video when it's up. But she seems to be very embedded with the Saudis. I'm wondering if Sunak is as well. And Boris looks a little bit too kowtowing to him too, I'm quite sure. So I'm wondering if the Saudis are holding the blackmail book, as it were. Which would make a lot of sense, would it not, with how this nonsense is moving. So, just a little bit of an history. Good, it's blistering out there. Good. I think we need a bit of sun. It's been late coming this year. Because they've been blocking it out. So there's some interesting developments at Childcare Westminster. Very interesting. And they're talking the bug up, I've noted as well. So all them, they're the left-right paradigm and giving it, yeah, we've got rid of the Blumbo with the Boris. Yeah, he's a bum. Well, just wait till you get your next lot in. They'll be clean-faced, free of scandal. Boris and his cronies are off hoity-toity, touring the world, no doubt, making quite a lot of money, as they all do, don't they? And Privy Council up also. So that's what Boris has got ahead of him. So he's retired and he's resigned. But it's a let-off. I mean, people don't get that. It's actually a let-off now for these people. Because you're going to get new faces, but same old story. With vigour, I would think. And also, of course, you've got the continued, let's all go and kick Russia's head in. You know, they're already taking our equipment out there now. not good, don't like it, they're moving every stuff out, don't like this. And of course, the one to watch, especially now that there's a chance that Neton the Psycho might be getting back in. It wouldn't surprise me, but they probably didn't need him in there to annihilate the masses. It's much better if he didn't have that on his resume for future. But you've got to keep your eyes on what's going on between Israel and Iran. A lot of this Ukraine stuff is just basically to put the borders back as they were originally before we had all these silly wars. Poland were running the western half of Ukraine, and the other half was Russian, which is why most of the eastern Ukrainians are more allied with Russia, hence Putin doing what he's done. So it looks like that's all that's actually going on there. I think this big military build-up, as they're putting up now, is more in readiness for this madness that's going to kick off between Iran and Israel. So I think more than anything, see what there's on about in Ukraine, but I think that's basically where it's going. And of course, everything will be then militarised and ready to go when the nut jobs in the Levant decide it's time to kick ass. And of course, you're all expected to play the game. So there we have it. So that's the childcare Westminster issues dealt with. So got a long question my other half wants to ask. So we'll have to split it in a few parts. It's too long for the chat, it seems. Can we just jump back 2 weeks to your Phoenix event talk for a very simple question? Where did you get the 130 cycle from? This is something I've been looking into for a while. And the general consensus of opinion is 121 years. For example, let's agree on the 1902 date for the last Phoenix event. Type 1902 into your calculator and take 138 off. And again, so the one previous to that was 17 something when all were going on. So the Prussians through the Yanks were taking over the power base in the Americas, which was the South, in sync with Lancashire because it were cotton in common. So it was a major move by the Prussians to attack the power of the north of England and the south of America, or the American South rather than South America, the continent. So that's what it takes you back to there. Now, the 138 doesn't come from me. It comes from Jason from the Archaics. Bashir is called, Jason Bashir. He's come out with so much information, it's quite excellent. And I've watched most of his videos, but the thing that I'm focused to more than anything, because it's what's been sort of clipping a lot of things for me, is this Phoenix itself. I've looked at his pyramid stuff, etc., etc. Interesting, and I can't yay or nay, though of course I've read all the stuff that's showing that the pyramid systems could also have been set up as something that put the bad in the mix. I don't know. I can't say yay or nay. I have looked at what he's saying. He's obviously pulled it together well, so it's not just shoved together. But like I said, my main point of interest is the 138 cycle, the Phoenix cycle, because of course you've got the Thunderbird. So it's him that's pulled together the 138 cycle. Naturally, he would say, of course I'm not speaking for him, but anything that's out there in La La Land, of course, is to obfuscate what he's found, so that we're not on the correct calendar, as it were. Well, but that anybody in the occult knows that the biggest tricks they're playing on you is having you on the wrong calendar, the wrong counts, etc. So, a big part of any kind of study into that game is you're trying to find out the source calendar they're working on. So Jason picks out one particular calendar, which is I forgot what it's called. The original one before the Gregorian, or maybe before the Augustan, I'm not sure, but it's the one they used to use, and I would suggest it's probably the one they're still using there, and everything else is just for our consumption. So it's Jason that brings that in. You hit a load of jargon numbers, now type 1902 into your calculator again and do it within 21. Loads of numbers come up that are very close to probable reset dates. The Great Fire of London. Well, you see, as well, obviously, because I'm interested in the Phoenix, that's what I'm pursuing in relation to trying to look at this so we can analyse it and it can be looked at. Because back in the old shamanic days, I had sort of connected with the Thunderbird, which when you look that up, it's classed as a mystical force. So that obviously the Phoenix again is the Thunderbird. You know, it's Typhon, it's the Red Dragon. So all these ancient scriptures, doctrines, canons, whatever, are all talking about the same thing. The Destroyer. Whether that is actually the Phoenix or another one that gives you the major catastrophes, I'm not sure yet. But that's what he's basically saying, and you can trace these. So he's obviously traced back in time on this 138 count, and this is where he's gathered his data as to these big changes in things. Everything changes. New people seem to be in control because, of course, if we've just gone through some cataclysm, not all the elites are riding because they're operating to this survive, and so it's probably a grab for whatever's left. You know, it's that kind of situation that he's working on in this, but it just makes so many things make sense because obviously back in the day I've studied a lot of the old books. That's all I ever studied. Were only books. I didn't go on the internet till 2007. So from 93 right up to 2007, everything I learned or gained was from experience and from reading books, old books. Always a couple of 100-year-old books. They're the ones where you get both sides of any story, and then you can pretty much read between the lines and see it was just, no, you did that, so I'm going to do this, and that's pretty much our history all over it shop. But yeah, all the books is where it comes from. But a lot of the stuff that I've read, obviously, I weren't seeking that narrative that Jason has brought out. Jason's brought out a specific narrative on these cycles of destruction. If you've looked at the mud floods, it's obvious that this is going on. These are recent. This last mud event that we're getting across Europe, and of course in America, San Francisco is a prime example. If you look at the old photography, that we can see that they've actually been destroying architecture since this last event, so they can claim it as their own. So it would appear that whatever controlled the old empire, which has falsely been given this label Tartaria, it's garbage. It's garbage. There was an old empire, absolutely, but it's nothing to do with Tartaria in that sense of the word. And I take that from when you really look at the architecture. You're looking at Constantinople for a lot of this kind of architecture. So you look at Rome for a start. So it would seem that the Roman Empire didn't actually die when they said. It looks like those that were running it at some point back in however many centuries completely took over by its enemy, who then have paraded as the same since. So that's how I'm looking at these sort of things, and that it's this destruction thing that gives them the ability to take over other places with ease, but also I've lost my train of thought there. Oh dear. No, I've lost it. There were another point, but I can't remember what it were. But basically what I'm saying is the empire that was obviously, in my opinion, took over by this dark, its enemy. And we can see that in the Prussians. But for me, it starts to really pick up this during the Crusades and that kind of period, So we're looking at the knightly orders that were formed to go fight in the Crusades. So you've got your Templars, Knights Hospitallers, Knights St. John, Jerusalem. Whether Freemasonry was always tied to that is debatable because, of course, the Reformation that took place in Europe was so severe. I don't think you know, a lot of people looking back on it now, if you were to come to it cold, actually realise just what a bloodbath it became, that, because it was a complete split by a huge chunk of Europeans away from the controlling nonsense that were being pumped out via the Vatican, or the Holy Roman Empire, through the Vatican, as I would say. And it was bloody. And of course, once England became Protestant, they had to set up the systems in order that it remained so. So I'm not so sure Freemasonry in its origin necessarily served anything that was tied into what was created in the Crusades, the Templars and the Teutonic Knights. You know, the Teutonic Knights behind the Prussians, the Prussian move, which I'd say incorporated with is the Templars, the Jesuits, and all the knight orders that have been subdued, that were beholden to the Vatican but are now operating for the Holy Roman Empire. You know, Byzantine, you can see that mix coming in that's changed everything. But the Venetians are very important to understanding that as well, because the Venetians actually, they've screwed the Byzantines and allowed the invading Persians, who then converted to Islam. So they weren't Muslims in their origin that took over and then started to control Byzantium. It was the Persians who then they converted and implemented the crescent moon that you know today, which is in fact the symbol of Sophia. So that's basically what you can see there, and that this Islam created from the steppe rather than what were created over in Arabia is a different kettle of fish, and it's the, you could say, the Islamist version taking over what was Islam, and so that's a kind of picture I'm seeing forming in all this kind of thing. But it's Jason of Archaics that puts it together very well, and if you're interested in that data, you'd be very wise to go and have a look on his channel. And you know, he makes his videos pretty clear what they're about, so you can just browse through them and pick whatever you think is most relative to what it is you're looking at, Debbie. So there's the cycle in that sense. That comes back in 240. But this is what I'm going to say. So this Phoenix cycle, because obviously when I were in the shamanic, it was the Thunderbird, but I had no concept that we were dealing with this kind of a thing. So now it's making it look, you know, I'm looking at it again. So I'm going over a lot of old experiences and knowledge that I've pulled in and reappraising a lot of things in that sense. So my thoughts on the matter is that although they're waiting for this event 2040, as I think I've seen Jason say, activate, it gets activated. I'm not sure it gets activated at that point. I think it gets activated quite a bit before. And I think a lot of this, what we're seeing now in this apocalypse, where the revealing is a part of the Phoenix cycle, I would say. So, hence why I can understand why I was connected with the Thunderbird for so many years in the shamanic side of things. So that again now is making more and more sense for me, because pretty much all I've done since, well, you can say 2001 physically, is operate within what you'd class as the apocalypse, which is helping to reveal what needs to be revealed. So, you know, it's the Phoenix cycle itself that I'm more concerned with, rather than the remainder of his data, though I'm not poo-pooing it at all. And I've watched so many, probably most of his videos, if not all of them. I can't fault what he's saying. There's a few issues that I wanted clearing up, but he's cleared them up. So he's an interesting chap. He's interesting data. He's obviously new to the arena out there and just what kind of fruit bats are out there that'll, you know, just try and throw shit at you all day. But I think he's smart enough to just put them to the side, to be honest. So he's probably in a bit of a shock as to what kind of data is out there in the land of internet, and how many people are actually and have been doing this kind of stuff for a considerable time. So it's good and it's interesting. And if you like that kind of stuff, there's your man. So you're a Nooner or an Anunnaki, as you'd know. If you want to get another take on that, which his data is the data I studied back in the day, but as I said, I weren't seeking that narrative that he's brought to the table. So although I knew, I've studied these sorts of characters, these races, it's not new to me, but the sort of context and this new narrative is, and that's what I'm finding exceptionally intriguing. So, well worth a look. Well worth a look. So I think the Phoenix cycle, it's on. It's already on. Now, and a lot of people think, oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, the name given to this substance is ridiculous. Black goo. It is. Nobody can deny it. It's a ridiculous term. However, that's how it's described, except the Iranians call it the unrefinable oil. So it's called unrefinable oil if you're an Iranian, and not if you're talking about it from any other angle. But I think this might have some kind of... it could be a sort of... a part of what comes off this phoenix tail, even though we can't see it at this stage, because it's, as Jason would say, it's not actually been activated. I think it probably has, and we're seeing and feeling its essence. And this, if it's correct that there's two types of this black substance, then one naturally created by the earth, but then this foreign one that comes from beyond. I'm wondering if that's what they're playing with. Is that what the Ben stone was originally? That's obviously a big chunk of it came down. Said to be in Parliament, said to be 3 parts of it that it's in Mecca, that they all whiz around widowshins. There's got to be a connection as to why Arabs have chosen England for some reason. I think it might be because they've just been given it as a prize for playing along. That's a possibility. I've thought that for quite a long time. That being the case, I object. Okay, I object extremely so. So that's how I'd look at the state of that. Otherwise, it's and that the blackmail data that collected by such as Savile and Epstein and all others that have operated in that way seems to have been handed to the Saudis, which have been holding our lot to ransom. Signs of which you saw in the 1970s shows like The Sweeney and The Professionals. These high-end sort of detective 70s not documentaries, but series that we had on. If you actually look back at them now with new eyes, they were actually telling you what was going on. So this Saudi intrusion has been going on for a long time, and it could have been coming via Uncle Sam, by all accounts. But it's probably gone via Uncle Sam, sourced in Israel, more than likely. But who knows? So let's have a look. Going forward from 1902. Well, from 1902, what he's saying is, if you look at the companies that came out in 1902 and 1903, it's pretty much every bank, every foundation, every charity that all these big corporations. All of a sudden, they launched their wealth again into the system because, of course, they needed to gain control again for the next 138 years. So what I was trying to say was, in essence, it's to be at the top in these elite families, these occult families, they're operating basically to a 138-year cycle in everything they do. And of course, they never know where these destructions or how severe they're going to be. They're just expecting it would appear a pretty bad one. And Jason says it's 240. He's accrued that by putting it together with Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus, but he also adds the caveat that in order for it to fit, he's had to they were out by a year. So yeah, it's you could even look at that yourself. So it's a theory. He's not and he's not claiming it to be his theory. He's basically saying that the data that he's, well, okay, he's maybe his narrative is a bit theoretical in some parts, but the data that it's based on is sound, and it is sound. I've studied a lot of it back in the day, but not looking at it from this point of view. No worries, Debbie, that's not a problem. Didn't Jay say the Phoenix was supposed to come in 1902? No, but it came, but not necessarily where they thought it were going to hit, nor as severe as they thought it were going to be in parts that they were expecting. However, there is quite a lot of evidence of a lot of shit going on all over the world in different parts of the world. I forget now because I haven't watched him for a while, but he does actually give some examples of the kind of things that did actually happen around that time. But if I am correct that it begins before the actual doof, the big one, where it actually does cause some serious damage, then I think this is what we're all on anyway. We're all part of that. Because what he says, Jason, is that this Phoenix was created in order to prevent the Archons from actually fulfilling what it is they're trying to do, which is grab full control of the Earth. Which makes sense, does it not? Humanity is so stupid. You can't leave it to humanity, can you? I mean, it's not going to happen. These people that run this world are so far in advance of the average man's intelligence. It's difficult to even contemplate. They are just a completely different creature in relation to intellect, intelligence. But naturally, they don't have the spirituality themselves because they're always edging to just keep within it. But I watched a video of Michael Tazarian the other day, which was quite interesting because I've not seen him for a long time. And he made a good point that within evil, all evil, whatever it is the seed of its own destruction. So they have done evil, but they can only do evil against you because you've fallen for the spell. That's on you for not seeking knowledge, because you think you're down here to have a jolly good time and toss a bear, watching telly. So, it's obviously whatever they're doing, there is a destructive thing coming to it. What they always do is transfer it to you. So the kickback comes to you, not them. Which is why they telegraph everything before they're going to do it. They've told you, you haven't rebuffed it, you haven't moaned about it, cried about it. You've accepted it, you've agreed to it. It doesn't matter whether you understand it or not. That's your fault for not seeking knowledge. So that's how they're operating. Now, it must bear fruit because they get away with it. But they don't get away with it, apparently, on these cycles because in order to live in that way, they're on a certain frequency. So as intelligent as they are, on the grid, they're low down connected to the grid. A bit like I was trying to get across last week, or whether I've had these conversations this week with others. It's all right knowing it in your mind, your conscious self, but if your subconscious hasn't got it as an auto response, it's not. Whatever is in your mind isn't going to pan out in your action, your responses, your reactions. So they're tapping into that all the time, and just keep it off them. And it's like I'm wondering with all this immigration, are they, if it's at a certain frequency, are they ensuring that this Phoenix hits everywhere by shoving in real low-grade characters and beings into civilized society, so that that energy is easier to be seen, if you get what I'm saying. But then again, you look at the Western cultures these days, they are now at that same level in most cases. They think the same. There's nothing to them anymore. They're not debaters, they're not thinkers, they're not academics in any way, shape or form. They're just not going anywhere soon and no intention of trying. So there's that as well, that's a bit of the old, what's he called? He says a bit like that. As the more you lower your morality as a nation, opens the doors to the lesser, as it were, the lesser frequencies. until it absorbs you. So I think there's a lot of that going on as well. You've been binge watching Jason, but I don't really enjoy his collaboration. It's a minefield of glitches. Yeah, he's much better on his own, but when you're watching people on these podcasts and that, what you can get sometimes is a condensed grasp on what it is overall he's saying, because he'll go over quickly subject matter. So in essence, it's also good for, because if you watch a lot of his videos, you're still going to be missing a lot of his what he's trying to get across, because you're focused to whatever it is that's interesting. So when you watch them kind of things, you can get a real quick condensed idea of what he's actually saying as a whole. But I know what you're saying. I do know what you mean. Sometimes it's quite good when people go on other podcasts and do it that way, but it's not for everybody. Some people are just much better putting it out as they put it out and let people take it on that alone. So, what's your take on the Georgie Guidestones being demolished, Sean? Well, if you've not read the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, then you're going to go with this, oh, look, we've got rebels going on. Okay. No. You see, a big part of this apocalypse, which they know all about and how it works, is this sacrifice to self. So they'll offer up the system that's done what people like me are saying it's done, but meantime they've set up another one that's now hidden. So they're hanging the self, if you will, and the system, in order to bring about this godlike figure that they're going to bring about, who's going to have answers for everything that's crap at the time, which is why they're creating this social catastrophe. That's what they're intending to do, because they need somebody to stand up, and he's going to give the big I am. He's going to have answers to the problems we've got, because of course he's a front man for them that have created them. And so then you're going to get the pseudo-Christians, pseudo-Muslims, pseudo-Jews. They'll hail this guy up as God because they believe that they're beating this collapse of this system, that they're sacrificing themselves because they've moved it into something else. Yeah, it's so big now, it doesn't need the mechanics it had for all the centuries. So they've set everything up in the self and then offered up on the altar for sacrifice the whole system that has been for like the last 1,000 years, so we can all think we've done something good. Especially though the fanatics, because they're going to believe that they've won this. So when we're in such a bad state, the world, they're going to put up this fruit bat. Who's going to be giving answers to all the ills? And these fruit bat pseudo religionists are going to say, you are God. You must be God. And this is the difference. This fruit bat will accept that analogy and become God. That's what this game is here. This is why I always said to you, this is the fake judgment. This is the fake. This is the last ditch attempt to get control again. But ultimately, in this other agenda that they've got going, that you're only just starting to see about, they're trying to get rid of as many people as they can, because less there are after. If this phoenix hits this time, the less of you there are, the easier it is for them to manage, to ensure that they've regained control, because they don't know who out of themselves, the elites, are going to survive this. They don't. They have no idea, because they do know it's hunting them down. So they try and push it on us. They've done it through the art. You look at a lot of the art about the Four Horsemen, and it's all coming down on the peasants. Well, no, it was garbage. It's the apocalypse is about revealing the reality, not the fantasy that you've had shoved down your neck. You know what I mean? So Georgia Stones, just part of the game, really. There were an explosion in Rome today that looked like it were around the Cleopatra's the obelisk, but just before we came on, I saw another one saying basically it's a scrapyard. So it looked like there'd been something gone on there as well, but it doesn't look like that's the case. The channel I watch is the Phoenix, due date 15th 2023. Okay. No. I'd have a look at Jason Lindsay. Have a look, see for yourself. I'm not going to tell you anything which way or other. But if somebody's talking about the Phoenix, that's alright in my book. That's fine. You know, we don't have to get mad about the dates, etc. And just know that if you're on the right frequency, you have more chance of it not affecting you. Because what it's going to do is pull people further into this, the real negative side of things that's going on around us. This movement to slavery and this burgeoning excitement that you're getting from certain quarters that they want to enslave and they want to this and they want to do that. They're going to meet what they'll meet what that'll bring. Let's make no mistake about it. They're having down that path. Where are you? Where are you? What frequency are you on? And is this going to affect you in the way that they're trying to say it's going to affect everybody? But no. So they're pulling down the frequencies, aren't they? They want everything low frequency thought, fear everywhere. That's why fear is the biggest thing and the problem. That's low energy. It's low grade frequency. Get you onto that, you're very easily controllable. Especially if the ones that have created the fear are the ones offering up the the remedies. So that will be my take on that. So good on him. If somebody else is talking about it, that's good. 15th of the 4th, Titanic Day, if I remember correctly. Titanic. Yeah, I did look at that once. There's some odd stuff about that, isn't there? The three amigos that were wealthy enough to stop World War One and the Fed, or the Fed first, which would have stopped World War One. They think World War One kicked off because they got the Fed. I can't remember the names now offhand, but there were three on there. That's one theory, that they got rid of them. The other is that they were swapped with another, its sister ship. I forget the name. There's quite a few others as well. If you're into that. 158 years ago was the last one. The last Phoenix, using 369, and then there is Zodiac. Okay, so 150. Well, so he hasn't got the Phoenix cycle down at 138 then, as he's got it at 158, obviously. So yeah, it's 138 he's got. Just have a look for yourself. You don't have to take it on board. And, the figures for me is not really important. Just the fact that this is looking to me like the game. This is what these elites are all about. It's all about this. And so you can understand why they're so tapped. They've only got 138 years to ensure that they follow through with the power, their control. What's your views on the assassination? Well, I believe the Chinese are celebrating. A lot of the China on the street celebrating it. So, is it something to do with China's move to take over the entire Pacific? I do wonder. Because the Japanese, they're a very, very solid race. Whatever they're into, and there's nothing will get in the way. Unfortunately, they were took over by this system, and that's the point that ended the samurai ways. So I don't know, it doesn't look good, does it? I mean, there's been a lot of attacks on Japan, let's be honest. How many earthquakes have they had? Tsunamis. Something out there is not very happy with Japan. That's a fact. I mean, whether it's because they've gone too technological, it's a possibility. But then China's not far behind it. Now, interesting that Jason puts forward that, because he has other methods of scrying stuff from gematria and count, etc. And he's suggesting that this one, 240, is going to Asia, with the exception of Australia, which again makes sense. Because Edgar Cayce has Australia down as growing and New Zealand as growing, and they're becoming connected. Whereas you look at the other, America and Canada, there's a huge horseshoe of a sea within it. Big chunks of it gone. I think some of California, the west seems to fare better than the east. I actually have in fact, yeah, I have. Where are we now? So I need to go Safari. Here we go. I've actually got, so if I hit Safari now, transition, I've actually got, it's been noted. So, it's not playing out. I actually have Edgar Case on here. So if I just flip that. That's not playing out. I don't know what to make of that. So that's not playing out. But I have Edgar Case on my website. I'll put it up under here, and he shows you maps of his. No, surely I must be able to get this up. Let me just have another one. Because it is interesting when you start looking at this. Because this stuff's not new. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing new. It's just been took out of context when they launched all the Mayan stuff. Because that focused everybody to 2012. But that was brand spanking new, and it came in from Theosophy, all that stuff. But it did actually pick everybody up, if we're honest about it. There we go. Is that... No, what transition? Well... So what do I have to do here now? It's not even coming through there. Strange. Looks like I've just ruined Safari. No, it's not coming through for some reason. Oh, it looks like I've ruined the show. I can't go through to any of them now. Because it's the images that I need to show you, not actually just reading it out. That's a bit... I'll give it one more shot. I apologise about this, guys. I know it's something I'm not doing right. It's not actually... Streamlabs, it's me. It's just not giving it me. Okay, so we've got that. And then we go to... There we go. Nope. Oh, that's shit. No, it's not working at all. I'll really bugger it. I've proper shafted it. It's not even doing it. We'll come out to there. Oh well. No, it's totally ruined it. I've wrecked that. Seeing it would appear. Oh. Sorry about that, fellas, but that's not going to happen tonight, so we're not going to be able to use that system. George fires a ball on March 22nd. Yes, what's his job, please? Alright, you're talking among yourself. Alright, so I thought, so we'd have a look at just an interesting bit of data. Scandal. Ukraine sells military equipment donated by NATO countries. I mean, come on. What kind of a gangster republic is this? It says Ukraine remains one of the most corrupt countries in the international system. Corruption not only destroys the country from within, but also begins to influence the attitude of its partners towards the country. The last manifestation of corruption is beyond comprehension. On June the 20th, French lawyer remedies de Castellanau wrote on his official Twitter account, another success of Macron. French Caesar guns were intercepted intact by the Russians. They are currently in the Uralovan factory in the Urals for study of possible reverse engineering. Thank you, Macron. So they're pretty much picking them up. But where's it on a bit? Where's it saying that they sold them? On June the 2nd, BulgarianMilitary.com revealed the sale of at least one FGM-148 Javelin anti-tank guided missile system on the dark web for 30,000. The seller is unclear, but according to the information posted on the darknet, the location where the system will be shipped or picked up from is Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. So the dark web is big over there in the Ukraine as well. It does look like Vlad the Impaler has pretty much upset a lot of this shit that's been going. Not that I'm condoning the man, at all. I'm not condoning any of that garbage, but yeah, it does look like for me it's a cover. They're just militarising everything ready for whatever's going to go down in the Levant over there. So you just keep that in mind, people. So basically, it's been selling. Lithuania have sent it over there as well. 100 million worth of stuff. So they send it, all this stuff that's been sent over there, it would appear, is being sold on the dark web. So this is another interesting one as well. Unsecured debt as a definition, because I think we lose sight of this. It says, what is unsecured debt? Unsecured debt refers to loans that are not backed by collateral. If the borrower defaults on the loan, the lender may not be able to recover their investment because the borrower is not required to pledge any specific assets as security for the loan. Because unsecured loans are considered riskier for the lender, they generally carry higher interest rates than collateralized loans. So unsecured debts are loans that are not collateralized. Yeah, so your credit cards and all this stuff, obviously as the interest rates go up, these are going to start causing you problems. You've not secured any assets against it, so you need to keep that in mind, So keep that in mind, people. I'll put that again underneath this video when we crack on after. So, well, it's pretty much ruined what we're going to do, so because we can't look at it. I'm just thinking we might leave that to next time and just do a short one this week, maybe, eh? Because I've proper wrecked it. Right, so you've got that. Well, let me just give this one more shot, because I don't know. Maybe if I quit Safari, try it again. Oh, let's do this. No, it's not working. I've wrecked it. Oh well, never mind. Not much I can do about that. The worst of it. Oh, this might be interesting actually. I suppose I can just read it for you. It doesn't really matter. So this is by Martin Vreeland. It's what are simulation domes and why do they explain the entire history? So he's talking about domes in relation to how the Earth's pulled apart, as it were. But I'm not so sure I go with what he's trying to transmit as an idea of the dome. But I do have my own idea as what it could be. So we'll read it, and then I'll give you my take. And it's so he says, in my last series of articles on simulation, in my latest book essay, I explain what simulation domes are. It puts the whole history in a different light, because it explains, first of all, that time is cyclical, and secondly, that history is based on a backup blueprint from the time of Noah. Hence, many mythological stories seem to repeat themselves. It explains similarities in ancient mythological stories of the Great Flood, the Vedas, and their sunken city Dwaraka, which is reminiscent of the stories about Atlantis and Friesland, with their sunken area and the stories about the multiple gods who suddenly changed to monotheism. Seeing through the workings of the simulation domes leads to a eureka moment in which suddenly everything becomes clear. Because many people have a pre-existing view of history, there is a reaction of rejection to this new idea, usually because they have not taken the trouble to study it properly. Therefore, you have to click on the links and read all the articles. That will take a day or two. Once the penny drops, it becomes clear that it's not conflicting but complementing. First of all, it's important to understand what matter is. Matter is perception materialized from information. This may be a new definition of matter for the reader, but it lays the foundation for all understanding of reality as we perceive it. It requires an understanding of the idea that consciousness is the observer. Just as you are the observer of the pixels on your computer screen or smartphone screen, as a translation of the code. The observer is therefore not in the screen, but outside the screen. The essence of understanding reality of history and prophecies is understanding who you are. You are the observer, you are consciousness in the screen, and the screen is the simulation dome within which the blueprint code from the backup cycle materializes before the eyes of your consciousness, which is outside the screen and outside the simulation dome. So your body and your brain and your awareness do not make who you are. Your body is just a puppet in the simulation dome screen with you moving around in the simulation. Who you really are is the observer consciousness. The simulation dome screen surrounds the materialized world of which your body, avatar, and therefore also your brain and its thought processes are a part. So when you look around you, you perceive the simulated world surrounding your avatar from your body avatar. So that's sort of like speaking in terms of that theory that so your car isn't there until you open the door or open your window to see it. So you know what I'm saying? It's like, so that's another theory of this, what this is as a holographic setup, that it's only there as you're perceiving it, you know. And then if you talk with other people, you've joined. That is a theory. I think that's what this guy's sort of to get into, but. Simulation domes are located on the surface of the original Earth, which was pulled out of its original atmosphere around its once central sun, Saturn, by the passing of the Destroyer, a planet. In my book essay, I refer to the videos of the Thunderbolts project on YouTube, which substantiate this beautifully. The passing by of the planet caused an electrical discharge between the Earth and the planet, causing a plasma burn effect, also shown in the videos of the Thunderbolts project. The many remnants of comet impacts that we find on the surface of the Earth were caused by this. The mythological stories about nuclear weapons therefore became clear. If you place them in a plasma discharge that occurred, just like the mythological stories about the flood. I'm not sure I understand that. Therefore, when Lucifer, by virtue of the biblical Noah, knew... Now, this is the part that I actually thought were interesting. It says, therefore, when Lucifer, by virtue of the biblical Noah, knew that the Earth as it was would be destroyed, he decided to work on a digital copy of the code of the already materialized universe. That is the story of Noah's Ark. It's a digital blueprint backup up to the moment of destruction that, like a vinyl LP, always serves as the basis for every simulation dome started. Now, that is interesting because you get into the Noah story. The people, when the waters receded, the survivors were pissed off to see him and his game. They were exceptionally pissed off. They weren't happy. So there is something in this, in my opinion. It is essential to understand that although the original Earth has a scorched surface and has been pulled out of its original orbit around Saturn, the original universe is still visible from the simulation dome. The simulation dome is a transparent plasma dome generated by an underground electromagnetic circular field. We may not be able to imagine this now, but many Hollywood films secretly show this already. Well, they're actually showing massive amounts of what were classed as occult stuff in tons of films. It's to confuse you, I think. So we'll do another part that I was quite interested in as well. So it says, in the exosome reaction that expelled Lucifer from the original universe and destroyed the living Saturn cell, Lucifer lost the power of creation. He is, as it were, missing the stem cell code. The stem cell code is still in the original observers, in you and me, in the original consciousness. The simulation domes are intended to make us believe that we are still living on the original Earth, which is actually true, but under simulation domes. So I'd say from that it is true that we're still living in our original place of source, but we're inside these avatars having an experience in this, whatever this is, this simulation, simulacrum, whichever term you want to give it. Hologram is how I always described it. And that the actual, the simulation itself is there to keep us fixed into this idea that this is all there is. So that's its job. The simulation domes are intended to make us believe that we are still living on the original Earth, which is actually true, but under simulation domes, in order to believe in the religion created by Lucifer and embrace his technology, the vaccines, and thus harvest our consciousness. It's essential to take in new information. So when he's talking about domes, how I see the dome kind of thing is, rather than it being a dome as they say, it's more like so like you picture a computer and you'll put video editing software, and that's one thing in and of itself. And then you'll put an audio programming, and again that's in and of itself, but you can link them up. So I'd say the domes are sort of the borders of each piece of software. So China is a software, England's a software, America's a software, France is a software. You want to say these enclosed programs all over the shop. Because of what Noah did in bringing a copy of the old into the new, it's a battlefield for possession of. Does that make sense to you? That's how I see when they're using the term domes. And I'm not talking about how the flat earth guys use it, but for me, if you were looking at it from a holographic sense instead of the physical, which is what the flat earthers and all that are looking at, if you're looking at it from a holographic premise, then the dome would then, in my opinion, be the barrier around each piece of software. So then you get your religious ideas that if you break down your own program barrier, it leaches in others, and everything starts to leach into everything else. Does that make sense? And that would appear to be damaging to the actual creation, original creation. Anyway. So that's that, which I thought were rather interesting. I thought I'd read something else, actually, so don't know. No, nothing's loan, no debts paid, because it's all funny money, innit? Culpepper says the brain is a holographic receiver and projector. Well, if that's the case, it'd probably be the pineal gland, wouldn't it? And the ether is the screen. But of course, when I talk about a hologram, I'm not talking about the level of holograms that we've actually created today, that we actually use, that they're on about now, creating them from your telephone. So the holographic technology is in and active in more ways than you'd think. As profound as a technological advancement as that is, it's nothing compared to the actual holographic system that we're in, because that holographic system is distinct in that our energy, what we're thinking, or what we astrally project in through our mind into the ether as our thoughts, our wishes, our aims, the hologram then will bring before you the opportunities for it. Yeah? And then it's up to you whether you pick them up or not. You know, and again, depending on what frequency you are, depending on what opportunities it is you're going to see. You know what I'm saying? So in this holograph, it's different in the sense that our energy, the energy is following our own thoughts and then manifesting it, which is why it's so real, so solid. Now, Jason would say that that's the trickery of the AI. Could well be. But the fact that this place, if you can understand that it does manifest your thoughts, then you can use that. All witchcraft's about that, you know. Astral projection isn't what people think it is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, back in the day, I spent God knows how long each evening trying to astral project. I mean, what a load of codswallop. You know what I'm saying? It's just a load of garbage. You know, these guru numpties that tell you what... You know, I get more meditation out of flashes of just leaving this for a bit. And that can be brought on with music. Anything like that. Just that's a meditation. It's not... I have to sit there for an hour going, You know what I'm saying? It's... You know, the idea that people have of meditation is pretty nonsense. And the sooner you realise that, the sooner you can recognise how you naturally meditate. You know, how you naturally get into them spaces where you're just off the physical and exploring the non-physical for your old inspiration and such, you know. But so that's how I see that kind of stuff. It's not as... Because they're always fixing it to a physical thing, you know. It's a ball. No, it's flat. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Well, you know, you don't have to look at Flat Earth to see that they've pretty much annihilated the heliocentric model. But then come back with great leaps of faith, and because you've watched Game of Thrones, and there's an ice wall now. Before was an ice wall, except north-south, but now it's all the way around. And they could well be right. I don't know. I'm just not really interested. It's not going to improve my my reality, knowing whether that's correct or not. Anton being at the beach. Oh, you bugger. How lovely. That sounds good. With no H on, no forehead like rimmer. Oh, his brain is a holographic receiver and projector. Okay, well, I don't know Carl, so I don't know whether his brain is. I've no idea. So I can't say yeah, nailed that. But we've all experienced glitches, haven't we, in our lives? Them exceptionally strange things that are like, what? You know, we've all experienced them, haven't we, one way or another. So, we know. Yeah, assassination of that chip, it's not good, but it could well be something to do with. Mind you, I'm not sure at what point he was Prime Minister, because the massive earthquake that they had was quite a few years ago now. I saw a lot of information that was suggesting that were because Japan had said we're not handing our economy over to the Bank for International Settlements or via the Rothschilds, and then they got the earthquake. And then one of the Japanese car manufacturers was going to mass produce cars that run off water. Again, not going along with the plan. So it's like I said before about this, you know, the public are onto nation v nation, but you know, the war between nations has been going on for a long time, but they're just using different weapons that you're not even aware of or won't even accept exist. Like people that don't accept chemtrails. So tonight I was at a cafe when they started trailing, and there were 4 people I know there, and we were chatting away. We were talking about weather, obviously, and I said, well, it's interesting, I said, but they haven't trailed for 2 days. I said, but now all of a sudden, they've full it, and they're looking at me like, what? What's the end of it? I said, yeah, geoengineering. I said, can you see? And they're looking up, and then you could tell they're like, what? Even though they could see these trails, it wasn't abnormal to them. They'd never considered that that's not what they should be doing. And in fact, this weekend's been and probably tomorrow will be the same, but just if you're not sure about it, look up. And if they're not trailing, you'll see the planes going over as they normally do. And the trail comes out, and within 11 seconds maximum, I used to find, it's gone. Because that's just a condensation trail. I've also seen engineering data that says that even a contrail coming out of an aeroplane shouldn't be. And went through the mechanics of it and pretty much said no way should these engines be putting out any condensation trail. I don't know whether that's correct or not. If it isn't, then they've been doing this even longer than we thought. So I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah, just no matter. So I just stopped talking about it because it was pretty obvious that it weren't going in. They weren't getting it, even though they were looking at them and they would check aboard in the fucking sky. It was still like, well, Japan refused dollars. Did it? Were it going to sell in its own? I know they weren't handing over at central bank. I think that was 2008 after the crash. It was something to do with that. They weren't playing. And then I think did it have something to do with that funny cult leader who didn't put poison on one of the subways as well? I think that has something to do with it. I can't remember. They were an odd group because they ended up in Australia. Or groups like them. In Australia, they bought land and they had these... And when you look into it, the locals were pretty sure they were doing some testing and linked it, I think, into that, what gas they used in that thing. So that were interesting as well. So Japan refused. Apparently he was going to be taken out on a plane journey. Ooh, Japanese guy. Yeah, I mean, both today and yesterday were beautiful. Blue skies, exactly as you'd expect it. And the sun were fantastic. It worked. Chemtrails and contrails. Contrails disappearing like chemical trails. That's right. Yeah. Well, they spread out. They have a purpose, don't they? They're blocking the sun. Which is why rickets is on the rise. No vitamin D. At least you tried to explain the seed sown. Yeah, well, I always think that to myself. Well, they might have a look. They might look up. But I think my brother was saying something similar on the Friday that he were around here and that he had a conversation like that. And like, same, but they actually were giving show me bloody lunatic. But yeah, it's just that they're on that timeline. They're captured by that frequency and they can't see beyond it, no matter what. And that's the timeline they're on. So it's going to, whatever timeline that's going to, they're all going to follow. Or are they not? That's how I'm looking at this now. It's just ridiculous. Well, the Earth was flat up until yon fella, weren't it? But then I also found, when I was looking into that years ago, that the first use of the flat Earth idea came from the Phoenicians to terrify and ensure that the burgeoning Roman Empire stayed a land empire. And I think it was the Hittites, or I think it might have been Hittites or Assyrians, one of them empires, again, keeping them from building a navy, because of course the only two navies that were around them were the Egyptian and the Phoenician. And they like to keep it that way, But then there's also the evidence that, or theory rather, that the Mediterranean wasn't the Mediterranean. The Pillars of Hercules were a closed landmass, and that the Mediterranean basin was just like a deep valley with many, many lakes, a bit like you could say America, a vast landmass, which is where you get a lot of the people believing that Atlantis was in Mediterranean. So, it's potentially, who knows what the history of that were, but the Pillars of Hercules, if they were closed, there wouldn't have been no Mediterranean Sea until they broke and the Atlantic flowed in. It flewed in. I just thought so. Well, this is another thing as well. You do get some passenger jets where they are using them, but when they're starting to trail like checkerboards, they're not. passenger planes. I mean, at the beginning when we got into this, a lot of the pictures that we were finding, it showed that they were drones, which then sort of entered the 9/11 arena back then. Because, back in the day, from 2000 to maybe 2012, maybe, the entire alternative media was based entirely in 9/11, because that was the shock to the system, and rightly so. They said it's so important that we don't let this go, because this is what's changed everything. And it was. 9/11 changed everything. The war on terror, wars everywhere, all this data collect, all this surveillance. I know we've been putting it in here in the 90s, because we were the test case for it here in the on Blighty. Got some time, mate. I know. I go black, mate. You know what I'm saying? I go really brown quick, and especially if I get sunshine. Because I have psoriasis, so I need to get vitamin D. Otherwise, it goes ballistic. And I haven't been on sunbeds as often in this year. You wouldn't know, maybe, but. And it just to see if it were, if I kicked its ass. But I haven't kicked its ass, and it came back. So I have to keep up with the vitamin D levels at all times. Important. So I don't know whether Earth's flat or not, and I don't give a shit. I don't fall off it. You know what I mean? And I'm happy. That's the pilots, not the stewards. Yeah, but I mean, I have seen some passenger jets, or what appears to be passenger jets, trailing. But in the main, when they're doing these fancy patterns, there's no way are they passenger jets. Any passenger in that plane is going to be wondering what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, there's fucking... No. They're definitely not. They're either military or they're drones, and probably military drones. Or manned. I mean, because here we've got... what's it called? Which is why we get so many UFO sightings. What the friggin' hell is it called? Wharton. So Blackpool comes down on coast, and then you've got River Ribble comes out the estuary, and then you've got Wharton all the way on this side. No, it's on the side of... Sorry, yeah. Yeah, the top side of the estuary, you've got Wharton. If you Google Earth it, you'll just see it's a high-end military air base, very connected to America. Typhoons that's where they train, they test, fix, and then fly over Channel, or Irish Sea rather, play around out there. But yeah, so you look at these UFO things, and they're nearly all close to some kind of base, the same as water. The pilots are given the route to I'm also given coordinates. Switch on. What? All pilots? You know what I mean? Is that all pilots? Because, when they're doing the crisscrossing, that's not a plane going to a destination, is it? You know what I'm saying? Planes have gone over all day, no chemtrails. Then from 5 p.m. Yeah. And where are you, Andrea? Where are you at? No, I can't accept that we're spinning. It doesn't make sense. A flat Earth doesn't make sense. What is it? Much bigger? Then you're into the moon crater theory, aren't you? Where he's suggesting that what we see as our Earth is encapsulated in like a crater-like thing. That the moon is actually a image or a mirror image of what is the Earth. But what we see as the Earth is just in one tiny crater. So it's basically saying that it's massive, this Earth, and that's a reflection of it. I don't know whether that's true or not. He puts up some good info. He also brings out some good ancient data as well. So it's worth a look. I can't remember. It's a well funny name, his channel. So there's that as well. I mean, the series coming out left, right and centre. The reason I've picked up on archaics is because he puts it together very well. But as I said, my interest at this point is not the pyramids or anything like that. It's just the Phoenix cycle. So I'm opening myself to that. That I do like. So all pilots, all right, fair news, man. So Hoodie in Australia is a bit of a bad one, is he? Which we've said all along. I've always thought something was wrong. 9/11 proved to me I was right. No, man. I remember watching it. You know, I'd been out. I think I'd gone to price a job. And when I came back, the first one I did, wife were there going, "We sent this?" And I'm going, "Okay, no." I'm like, "Whoa." Then I saw the second one come in. And then when they fell, I just thought, bullshit. I'm a builder, for God's sake. There's nothing right about them towers falling. They don't fall like that. That's absolute garbage. So I didn't need the entire truth movement to convince me that 9/11 was a complete and utter setup. Because it was. In every way, shape, or form. You know, the Bushes as a family were so involved in it before. They put all the so-called new security in, when in fact what it looks like they were doing is putting all the bombs in, the explosives in, for a long time before the event. To the point that, if I remember rightly, the wherever the security so-called electricians were working, armed guards were around them. Nobody could go anywhere near the lift shafts that they were dealing with at all. That doesn't sound like just putting in new cameras, Gov, does it, and sensors. So, you know, and then you've got the Building 7, that people forget. All the records of all the banking and financial details of the 1980s were in that building. And was it something like 7 minutes? Declared to have collapsed 7 minutes before it did. On BBC. With the picture of it still up behind the woman that was saying it had fallen down. But 9/11's a long way back now, isn't it? It's a long way back. It's gone. It's just, to these young ones, it's a nothing, but that changed everything, 9/11. Everything. The end of free trade for the world. Alright, all pilots. Well, I don't know. You're in North Wales? Oh, it's been beautiful, hasn't it? Clear sky at 9 a.m. today, but could not see planes out, and I'd been out earlier. Good, because they do it early morning, early doors as well. When I was living in my car for that last couple of weeks, anyway, I was up at crack of dawn, me, I was up at like 5. Boom! You couldn't see. That's when they really did it. And I've said, I don't know whether I've said this on here before, but I lived in this one house for a while, and in front of it were just open ground and onto moors. And 3 nights while I was staying there, I was woke up by myself, probably, opened the curtains, and all you could see were white. You couldn't see anything, just white. 3 times. It's never happened since, but 3 times I've been woke in the middle of the night to open my eyes in these things, and you can just see white. What's that? Huh? What's that? You couldn't see anything. Nothing. White. I don't know whether it was a powder, a mist, or what. A glitch in the matrix? Were it not expecting me to get up, so it hadn't put the picture out? I don't know. But 3 times that's happened. Well, whatever the moon is, it certainly isn't solid, because I picked up some images from astronomers in these British thingies where they showed and calculated everything, the movements of the moon. So there were a star that they were looking at, that the moon were about to cover. Unfortunately, the moon went past it, but you could still see the star behind it. So it's not solid. So nobody landed on the moon, did they? And again, I'll say this, I didn't take that on board from 70s, because obviously they'd done it in the 60s and they were still excited about it in the early 70s. And I'd have only been a nipper, but I remember watching, I must have been taking notice, and as soon as it showed that image from the moon with the earth in the background and the earth the same size as the moon, I knew it was garbage, because by that age I already knew that the earth was bigger than the moon. So I never took any notice of it, ever. So yeah, it won't surprise me if we're not in a heliocentric model. But again, as I've said, if you're in a holographic simulation, it's irrelevant what it is, because whatever it is you want it to be, it'll be. You know? So again, that makes sense, does it not? You know? But it doesn't matter, does it? It only matters when we've gone back when we're out of this place and we can look back and go, oh, maybe. Peroxide 3.5%. Who's eating peroxide? Anyone heard anything about Vatican being on fire? No, it looks like it's a scrapyard. I saw it. Bombs, they said explosions. Somebody said that it might be at the obelisk. But then, just before I come on, somebody said, I think they might have commented actually, that it appears it's a scrapyard. Because I thought, ooh, Georgia Guidestones. Now is there something at Vatican? They're definitely destroying their own system for public consumption. So that we'll bring in this new penis and I'll go, hip hip hooray, save us with more bug shots. Anyway. Food grade peroxide. What's the peroxide doing then? Yeah, fill me in on this chat going down. Who's eating peroxide? I thought that were to bleach your hair. Who's seen the Phoenix mural in the Unsecured Council meeting? No, I haven't. Hey Gary, you're up early, have you wet bed? Are you still getting rained on? Down there in the old Oz? No, I haven't seen the Phoenix mural in the UN Security Council meeting. It's there, is it? I've seen the strange creatures to trigger all the religionists. Has Time Magazine got the Pope up as some kind of genius or something? I think I've seen. Not like they're a piss time. I'm interested in finding out more, as I have coped and struggled with my breathing, so don't want to get it wrong by anyone. Jeff, listen. I can only tell you what I do. And like I said, so I had that first lung infection about 7 years ago, no, about 5 years ago. Stopped me smoking, but then I started again. But I'd started cycling after. No, before. No, sorry, yeah, I'm getting mixed up. So anyway, basically, I had that lung infection, that wrecked my lungs, and then I had this at Christmas, that really affected my lungs. So when I got out on my bike again a couple of months ago, my lungs were knackered. I couldn't get the breath. But I made a choice. I can either shit myself and go on, I thought, right, well, let's go and kill myself and we'll get on this bike and just demand that my lungs do exactly what I'm telling them to do. And they did. They did after a while. I've learned that with the cycling, that when I first started it about 5 years ago, I used to struggle like hell at first, and then all of a sudden, maybe an hour in, so like I'd got to a point where I couldn't breathe, so I'd have to get off the bike, and physically I didn't know whether I wanted to shit, piss, cry, scream, or what. You know when you get like that and you're like, "Gah!" And it was really painful. And I used to say to lads like, might not be good, lads, I think I might be a bit buggered. But then they'd expand, they'd just go, it's like your second breath, they do expand. But what I've found, here's one for you, Mew. Get this one, Jeff, right? So, I like a full sports massage, mate. So I've been trying out some of these Thai girls that we've got around here. And to be honest, some of them are really good. And not only are they really good, they're very knowledgeable about stuff. And so the last one I went to, so she's again, oh, no, you're holding it in. I'm again, what do you mean I'm not? She said, you're breathing. You're not breathing fully. She said, you're breathing to a point and then you're holding it in. She said, stop fighting me and then I can do it. I said, right. So and she went, breathe like this. And she's through your nose, in through your nose and out through your nose. Well, isn't that contrary to what our PE teachers told us, right? So what I started doing, because when I did it, when she were giving me the massage, it worked. And I thought, this is bigger than just this. I'm going to use this. Because what it did, you were breathing, you were bringing into play your bottom parts of your lung. So you're breathing it full out. And you're not holding in. So what I've sussed is this. You know when you get on you're thinking, you're worrying, you're thinking. What's happened there is, you've breathed in, and then you've only breathed out to a point, and then where you start that thought, you stop breathing. And you think while you don't breathe. Right? And so I thought to myself, that's what I got an insight to when she'd said that to me. That this is bigger than just for relaxing your body. So what I've been doing, right? So when and then try going back to your normal self, but then you have to remember what you're practicing. And just look, every time you start thinking or worrying or anything like that, you've stopped breathing for that thing, and then you carry on. So it's like your breath has a part to play in the thought pattern that you hold. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. But that's what I've been looking at in these last few weeks, on the back of what this lass said to me. So, and instead of it just being top end, your breath's right down in the bottom of your lungs, so you can feel it pressing on your stomach, and then you're feeling it out, but nose, not mouth, all through your nose. You want to try that? I'm telling you now, it's unbelievable. For relaxing, anything like that, if you're getting yourself in just try it. You drink hydrogen peroxide mixed with water. I've just posted the PDF. Is this for cancer? Is this like using bleach to kill cancer and that? Because you can. Yeah, pleurisy. The only way to get rid of that is to have them drained, Jeff. Nothing else works. No medication on the world is going to change pleurisy. You have to drain the lungs, or it will come back. I mean, I've even tried to think how I could invent a machine where I could stick it in my lung to test it, to see if I have any in. But I don't think I do. But anyway, I didn't do it. So, or I haven't done it. But sometimes I do think these things. And a bit like Tesla, you're playing with the thought form. And then usually you kill it in the thought form because you're thinking, either I can't be asked to do that because it's hard. Or that'd take a hell of a lot of building and I just haven't got the equipment. So, yeah, I'll do a little bit of astral projection and then kill it because I just think, forget that. Let's stick to stuff we can deal with. The fake sun is about to come up. Oh, where you are, is it? You think it's fake? Bloody hot. It's fucking hot for fake. And where you are, it's even hotter. You drink hydrogen blood. Deep breathing, it says, definitely improve my health. Absolutely. But what I'm trying to get across to people, anybody that's got a lung problem, first thing is you shit yourself. No. Attack it. You will fucking do this, you little... You will, you know? Because I did. I did that. I marched myself. As soon as I got... Every 300 yards I had to get off. And it was killing me. I couldn't breathe. Where did it took me an hour to get to that point where I couldn't breathe? It took you 300 yards. And I'm thinking, I've really screwed my bloody lungs up. This is bad. Now, most people I know would shit themselves and go home. And I just thought, fuck that. I'm going to eat every hill now. And I'm just going to go every hill until I either pass out or they open. I have to be honest, I didn't notice that they opened. It weren't until I'd got to top of the topper stills and I was having a look down everywhere and there were people with horses and that. I was just having a right good nosy. I just thought to myself, my lungs they've done it and I didn't notice. And I was fine for that and then I scooped it off. Then I went on a 5-hour shot at Gisborne Forest. And for the first 3 hours I was pathetic. You know, back to that it was rubbish, absolute rubbish. And I really started to think, I'm mere damage done. And that's when I said to lads, look lads, I'm either going to die or they'll do what I said. I said, listen, if I'm dying, do not give me a kiss of life unless you wash your mouth. So that's sort of stopped my son shitting himself because he were thinking I might die. And away we went. And again, got my second breath. And at the end of it, after the 5 hours, I were in better shape than a lad 20 years younger than me. Because he were out of shape. Big time out of shape. So I just noticed when you're out of shape, you have to really push them lungs to get your breath back. You have to do it. I mean, I'm not trying to say do it until you die, but at least try the opposite to what people are naturally inclined to do, which is, oh, I must stop breathing. No, you need to get outside and go, you will work. And they do. So you're good for the lungs. Or a DIY seaside trip, the salt pipe. As I said, it just and it coats your lungs in salt. And it's supposed to kill all the microbes on your respiratory system that cause hay fever, allergies to pets, etc. No, I'm not saying you're a sissy, Jeff, but all I'm saying is, you have to really push him. You think you're going to die. You think you're about to drop dead, and then you go, fuck that, let's part it, and push them again, and then they play out. Yeah. I'm not saying you're a sissy, lad, but do more, is what I'd say. Get your shit in order. You know what I'm saying? No need slip, no disrespect to you, do yours. Slip? What slip? I miss something. Oh, you got about the sun. Yeah. Well, it's the old stories are that you couldn't see that sun originally. 2 moons. Native American stories talk in these terms, which I studied in great detail many years ago. But a lot of it I just couldn't, the key hadn't been given for me to understand it. Salt pipe from Holland and Barrett. I've noticed, now I sent a mate of mine to Holland and Barrett the other week because he was whinging about his prostate. So I said, look, I said, you want some saw palmetto? I said, saw palmetto. I said, it's some seaweed. I said, I got mine last from Holland and Barrett, which is probably about 5 years ago. I said, there's nothing in it, just seaweed. I said, it shrinks your prostate immediately. So, you old chaps, when you get to an age, all of you, so when you're starting to go lav, your prostate, is it expanding, it presses on your pipe, and so you can be stood at the toilet for an hour as it tiny trickle comes out. And most people think, what's up with me? No, it's your prostate, it's just expanding, which is a natural function of the prostate, yeah, because that's dealing with testosterone, etc. So, and all them kind of substances. So it's an essential thing, and it does expand and contract on its own. It's just as you get older, it seems to do it sometimes a little bit more. Maybe you're taking something that's not agreeing with it. But when that goes on, and it happens to us all, I just take 2 of them, and we in an hour, I'm pissing like a fire hose. It just shrinks it, and boof. So that's how but now, he went in, got it, brought them back, showed me, they've changed them. There's a new capsule, and there's added ingredients. So Holland and Barrett, in my opinion, is not to be trusted in any way, shape or form. At all. In my opinion. So I looked online with him. I said, look, what you might want to do, get online and get the organic. So we looked at a couple. There were one with 74 quid. 90 capsules at 3,200 strength, whereas the ones he just got were 30. No, sorry, they were 200. So those are 74 quid are so pure. And like I said to him, I said, if I'm ever doing anything like this, I never keep taking them. I said I'm not interested in keep taking something. If I need... So, I mean, no, nowadays, because obviously, once I found out polymer is in Holland and Barrett stuff, I just stopped buying it then, full. Absolutely. But I'll always revert to what plant or what food has got whatever it is I need in, and I'll go that route first. If I can find some herbal thing without the polymer and some, stuff I don't like, then I might take a few, but then I won't. I'll stop. It's not like I'm doing it all the time, because you don't need to. Once you get the aim is to remind your body that it's not making this substance. You say, "Oi, pillar, you've stopped making this. Sort your shit out." And you're helping it by saying, "Here, look, I'll show you." There's a name for that science. I forgot what it is. My mother's into that actually. So that's how I sort of operate on my own bat. So, and then now and again I'll get vitamin D3, and it says take 2 a day, and I'll eat 10. So I'll just shove 10 in my gob, swallow it, and blitz my body with vitamin D3. Never does me any harm. And then I won't do it again for maybe 4 days, and then boom, I'll blitz it again. Shit loads of them in, boom, water, and I'm done. It never does me any harm, let's put it that way. And then when I've emptied that bottle, that's it, I won't have any for yonks. So that way then, I'm not causing a problem in trying to solve a problem, which is what a lot of people tend to do when you go into doctors for side effects. Are you still talking about peroxide? So peroxide is that you can actually use bleach to kill cancer cells by drinking a diluted amount. In the same way as I use turpentine, pine gum, that kills everything. So it's a solvent, so it doesn't respect any of the barriers. So once you ingest that, it piles through and does what solvents do. It kills things. So this will kill parasites. It's been known to kill cancer. Once the elite found out about this, because the American slaves used it to keep themselves healthy, they turned it into a poison for the masses. So if you're looking this up, it's telling you not to touch it. If you're doing it for parasites, there's specific ways you have to take it. Ray, we've got a fruit bat. We've got a fruit bat again. Oh God, we're attracting fruit bats. Looks like we've found you a girl, it says. Okay, now there's tons of them. Oh, he's gone, he's deleted. Come on. Thanks, sir. He's back. The fruit bat. There's 2 ways of taking it. There was one way I took it, and it did make me feel a bit high. But other than that, I've had no problems. So, say over the space of 3 years, I've used that much. Again, it's not something I do all the time, but if I'm feeling, I don't know, and also it's great for candida, yeast infection, just annihilates it. So, I'm mostly out there, I don't know who you are, or full of yeast infection, and it hasn't gone to candida, fine, but you don't want it to go to candida because it can kill you. And that stuff eats it, and in cancer cells as well. So it's a great thing. Once a week, if you thought you had some issues, but you take it with sugar, because that brings out the parasites. Because the parasites create a sort of gel, and they live in that gel. It's a protective thing. So you have to entice them out for the solvent to actually do its business. So the sugar entices them out. But then in sync with that, you've got to be pissing and shitting at every time you feel like the urge. because you need to get the shit out of you. You know, whatever you're killing, you need to get it out. So there's a good one. Nice one, Ray. With the two of them again, it's them same penises. So, turpentine. Yeah, Georgia pine gum. It's brilliant stuff. I used to take it before I went to bed because you burp it back. It's not very... I mean, it's not disgusting. Oh, he's back again. That sounds like it's coming from high up. Otherwise, they won't be able to get in if you've blocked them. We want to find love. We'll help. They're not... they're foreigners, aren't they, them? You're definitely being kept busy there. I can't get in it for some reason. I think I have to sign in through the Streamlabs to a different part of Google. They're back? Yeah, they're back. Well, they don't care. If they have better to do, that's fine. They can come and aggravate us for a couple of minutes and then get zapped. We can put you on a group chat if you wanted to do, or show on a messenger, or we can exchange. Who let the trolls out? An enema. Is that up your bottom? Are we talking like up the old backside? It's good stuff. It's brilliant stuff. It's a solvent, isn't it? Trump said, didn't he, that you can use bleach and all these tips. You can. And people have used them and cured themselves of these. Not cured. Healed themselves of these conditions because it kills all the cells and bacteria that it comes into contact with. So not too much of the old. You need to be signing. Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that this week and sort that out because obviously if there's times that you're not here, these guys are going to get us shut down by putting that filth on. So I'm going to have to sort that out actually as well, just in case. Poop tube. Hey! I don't have Messenger. I only have the Faceache. Well, they're getting cocky now. Faceache. So it's like, you were saying how the doctors are going on strike. So I suggested what should actually be done with doctors, and they didn't like that. And I got banned for 2 days. So, you know, I'm going to have to build a forum. It's as simple as that. Because so much information now can't actually be put down by people who need to put it down. I don't like that. So, an open forum where people can put in data that you can't put in anywhere else because the censorship is on the cards. So, there we go. Thanks, Anton. Don't know who they are, but it's probably coming outside of that arena anyway. 77 Brigade, probably. Little shitbags. Been told that they're clever. And they're doing a good thing. No, you're not, you little freaks. You fruit bats. So, I mean, it's pretty much wrecked what we're going to do, actually. We can sign off with the Culpepper. I'm not on WhatsApp. I'm not on WhatsApp. Or Instagram. Right, and we'll do the Culpeppers. I mean, the stuff that we're learning on this, if you're taking notice, is phenomenal. Right, barley. Everybody's heard of barley. And this is from the 63 Culpepper's English Physician. It says the continual usefulness hereof have made all in general so acquainted with it that it is altogether needless to describe its several kinds hereof plentifully growing, being yearly sown in this land. The virtues whereof taketh as follows. Government and virtues. It is a notable plant of Saturn. If you view diligently its effects by sympathy and antipathy, you may easily perceive a reason of them, as also why barley bread is so unwholesome for melancholy people. Barley in all the parts and compositions thereof, except malt, is more cooling than wheat, and a little cleansing, and all the preparations thereof, as barley water and other things made thereof, do give great nourishment to persons troubled with fevers, agues, and heats in the stomach. A poultice made of barley, meal, or flour, boiled in vinegar and honey, and a few dry figs. Where are they? Put into them, dissolveth all hard imposthumes, and assuageth inflammations, being thereto applied, and being boiled with meliot and chamomile flowers, and some linseed fenugreek, and rue in powder, and applied warm, it easeth pains in the side and stomach, and windiness of the spleen. Spleen? Windiness? Is that what? Oh, is it the spleen that gives you the wind? Not the stomach, as we've all been taught. Interested? The meal of barley and fleawort boiled in water, and made into a poultice with honey and oils of lilies, applied warm, cureth swellings under the ears, throat, neck, and such like. Well, if you get... Now, that's interesting, because if you get swellings under your ears, those are two of your biggest lymph nodes. Ear. And you can feel like you've got earache. So, when this happened to me, back in the day, it was actually when I was smoking. I could always tell if the weed was shit, because these would kick off. So it was like an early warning. And I thought I had earache first time I got it, so I'm poking my ears with all sorts of stuff. Well, it weren't my ears. It were not my ears. And as it got worse, I realised that they were down here, so I went into that looking at what we've got. Got massive big lymph glands down here. So then I knew I didn't smoke that. And then it'd take 2 weeks to go. So when you affect them, when they kick off, that you're taking in some nasty poison. So if he's speaking in terms of that, then this barley must be good for your lymphs. And you can apply it to the outside. How good's that? I mean, especially if you get, cancer has got in there, like some get 2 stage 4. And a plaster made thereof with tar wax and oil helpeth the king's evil in the throat. Boiled with sharp vinegar into a poultice and laid on hot helpeth the leprosy. Being boiled in red wine and pomegranate rinds and myrtles, it stayeth the lask or flux of the belly. Boiled with vinegar and quince, it easeth the pains of the gout. Barley flour, white salt, honey and vinegar mingled together take away the itch speedily and certainly. The water distilled from the green barley in the end of May. What the hell's just happened then? I took the wrong thing. I hit the wrong button. The water distilled from green barley in the end of May is very good for those that have defluxions of humour fallen into the eyes. Defluxions of humour fallen into the eyes. What does that mean? What's the humour? See, I need to know what humour means, because he uses it a lot. And easeth the pains being dropped onto them, or white bread steeped therein, and bound onto the eyes, doth the same. So white bread in this stuff. Oh no, drop it into him. Or white bread steeped therein. Interesting. Garden or sweet basil. Description. The greater ordinary basil writheth up, usually on an upright stalk, diversely branching forth on all sides, with 2 leaves at every joint, which are somewhat broad and round, yet pointed, of a pale green colour, but fresh, a little snippet about the edges, and of a strong heady scent. The flowers are small and white, standing at the tops of the branches with 2 small leaves at the joints, in some places green, in others brown, after which come black seed. The root perisheth at the approach of winter, and therefore must be sown every year. Place, it groweth in gardens only. Time, it must be sowed late, and flowers in the heat of summer, being a very tender plant. Government and virtues. With respect to the qualities of this herb, most authors differ. Galen and Discorides hold it not fitting to be taken inwardly, as does also Chrysippus. But Pliny and the Arabian physicians defend it. For my own part, I presently found that the speech true. Have we done this one? nontus componone liters, and away to Dr. Reason went I, who told me it was an herb of Mars and under the scorpion, and perhaps therefore called basilicon. And then no marvel it carries a kind of virulent quality with it, being applied to the place bitten by a venomous beast or stung by a wasp or a hornet, it speedily draws the poison to it. Every like draws its like. Mizaldus affirms that if it be laid to rot in horse dung, it will breed venomous beads on, and Holurius, a French physician, affirms upon his knowledge that an acquaintance of his, by common smelling to it, had a scorpion bred in his brain. What? Something is the matter. This herb and rue will not grow together, nor near each other, and we now know that rue is as great an enemy to poison as any that grows. To conclude, it expelleth both birth and afterbirth, and as it helps the deficiency of Venus in one kind, so it spoils all her actions in another. The bay tree. This is so well known that it needs no description. I shall therefore only write the virtues thereof, which are many. Government and virtues. It shall but only add a word or two that what my friend has written, viz., that is a tree of the sun, and under the celestial sign Leo, and resisteth witchcraft very potently, as also all the evils old Saturn can do to the body of man. And they are not a few, for it is the speech of one, and I am mistaken if it were not Mizaldus, that neither witch nor devil, thunder nor lightning will hurt a man in the place where a bay tree is. Gale and faith that the leaves or bark do dry and heal very much, and the berries more than the leaves. Well, it's important, this witchcraft, because that's what they launched in 2000, this new system. So the bay tree, go get one, put them all over your garden. The bark of the root is less sharp and hot, but more bitter, and hath some astriction withal, whereby it is effectual to break the stone, and good to open obstructions of the liver and spleen, and other inward parts, which bring the dropsy, jaundice, and sea. The berries are very effectual against the poison of venomous creatures, and the sting of wasps and bees, as also against the pestilence or other infectious diseases, and therefore is put into sundry treacles for the purpose. They likewise procure women's courses, and 7 of them given to a woman in sore travail of childbirth do cause a speedy delivery and expel the afterbirth, and therefore must not be taken by such as have gone out their time. Left they procure abortion, now then, or cause labour too soon. So while we're just talking about abortion and this weird shit bullshit crap we're going on about, nobody's right to an abortion has been removed in America. That's not what that is. It's been removed from being a taxpayer-funded operation. So it now means that the state, that is the United States of a company, is no longer funding abortions. If you need an abortion, you can still get one. You have to go private. So can you see how these leftist fruit bats and all these dick stains that were all over Glastonbury, you're gobbing it off and you're lapping it up? They're complete and utter arsewipes. They're dipsticks and they're useless and useless. You shouldn't be listening to these dicks. Yeah? Nobody is stopping anybody in America from having an abortion. It's just that the taxpayers have said, fuck that, we're not paying for it. That's good. That's good systems, that. So, keep that in mind when you listen to these left-wing dipsticks. Whatever they are. Left they procure abortion, or cause labour too soon. They wonderfully help all cold and rheumatic distillations, from the brain to the eyes, lungs or other parts, and being made into an electuary with honey do help the consumption, old cough, shortness of breath, and thin rheums, R-E-E-U-M-S, as also the megrim. They mightily expel wind and provoke urine, help the mother and kill worms. The leaves also work the like effects. A bath of the decoction of the leaves and berries is singularly good for women to fit in that are troubled with the mother or the disease thereof. I'm not sure what the mother is. Or the stoppings of their courses, or for the diseases of the bladder, pains in the bowels by wind, and slopping of urine. A decoction likewise of equal parts of bayberries, cumin seed, and hyssop, origanum, and ephorbium, with some honey. And the bees bathed therewith doth wonderfully help distillations and rheums, and settleth the palate. And settleth the palate of the mouth into its place. And settleth the palate of the mouth into its place. That's interesting, isn't it? An old trick for keeping your face in shape is a couple of times a day, just get your tongue behind your bottom teeth and push them forward. Just for a bit. And same with your top. And it keeps your jaw in tune. And settle the palate in the mouth into its place. The oil made of the berries is comfortable in all cold griefs of the joints, nerves, arteries, stomach, belly, or womb, and helpeth palsies. Palsies, okay? You're all getting that with the facts. Palsies, convulsions, cramps, aches, trembling, and numbness in every part. Also weariness and pains that come by sore travelling, so walking. So your feet and that. And all griefs and pains likewise proceeding from wind either in the head, stomach, back, belly or womb, by enhancing the parts affected therewith, the pains in the ears are also cured by dropping some of the oil, or by receiving into the ears the warm fume of the decoction of the berries through a funnel. The oil takes away marks of the skin and flesh by bruises, falls and see, and dissolveth the congealed blood in them. It helpeth also the itch, scabs, and wheals in the skin. So there we go. That was the bay tree, which you should all have in your gardens and in your house because it resists witchcraft. How about that? So, let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, I need to be turning. Copper bath. Well, I'm copper based, so I have that. But you're all having your copper removed from your bodies. That's what the meds and the food shite is doing. It's removing your copper and turning it to iron over burns. So I wear that. Just a copper. It's got magnets in as well. And I'll be honest with you, when I got it, I always have a bit of problems with my right hand because it's doing a lot of graft. Normally, it's and as soon as I put it on my right hand, I could feel it doing something, the magnets to it. And within an hour, it had all loosened up. So I swap it from different wrists just to make sure. But I'd say, if you've got a bit of arthritis, just put it on. Maybe when you just go to bed and then take it off. At least you're getting copper back in your system. Well, I've bought myself some copper mesh and tape, and I'm going to make a video in how to create these panels in your house that change the frequencies that they're sending out from these masts. Because you can't destroy it, but you can change the frequency of it. So my intention is to make a video of me making one of them. So, and then if you're making it on a board, you just put it on your wall like it's a picture. That's it. And that will diffuse the frequencies and change them. It'll just completely change the frequencies as they come in. How about that? So I got them the other day, so that's my intention. So council have refunded £3 council tax. What, to you? A separate case, cease and desist, still paying bills in the cars that have the original name tenant man. Snuffed out while all free. You might have to explain that one, old China. I play football and after the game if I sneeze 3 times in it with a runny nose, it's a nightmare. Maybe immune system due to what I'm running about. Well, usually, I mean, I drink for nose a lot, but there's still, I said I got it with that salt pack. I've certainly attacked it because there's nothing like it worked, but I've not got it. So I'm now planning some kind of pump with a tube on. I'm going to start sticking it up my nose and into my ear and see, well, not my ears because of that, but see how far I can get it up my channels and start sucking out any garbage. So that's my latest mind thing at the moment that I'm looking for. So if I see a little pump that'll work, I won't do it live stream, I promise you, but I will tell you all about it. I'm not sure I know what you're saying there, LL. Hack for your body, no food for 5 days. What? Yeah, 3 days is enough. I know the leftist nuts just like to get hysterical. Glasson was a disgrace. Damn Greta. Yeah, but I outed that tosser, many years ago. What's he called? Farmer. Big Methodist, isn't he? Tavistock. The whole thing, Glasson, its entirety has been a pushing out the new programme. I can't remember what he's called, but I outed him years ago. In fact, that's the thing. I need to find that because I still have that report. This guy's a proper tool. Yeah, they're not what you think. Claptrap. What's Claptrap? Pine tree in the back going with pine pollen. Somebody's been sending me images on my face about he's doing that now. In fact, I forgot about that. I think we said we were going to meet up. Do you know my mind is like a sieve. It's ridiculous. All I use tend to focus on is whatever it is that's bashing my head at the moment. Copper bath, yeah. People who treat others like they would like to treat it. Well, I don't want your falling out. It's very hard to believe much of the grimoire literature dates back further than the barcode system. Some worked on the northern lines. Where was it constructed using horse cart and hand tools? Absolutely not. And with that, my good friends, I will say, till the next time.